A very good. So it's sharp 11. It's good time to initiate our today's session. So a very warm welcome to one and all, and welcome to BDB Book Club. My name is Jitender Balani, and I would be the host for our today's session. And before we dive into our today's session, let me take a moment to give a brief introduction about BDB India Private Limited. Founded in 1989, BDB India Private Limited is a market research and business consulting firm. And through its three divisions, that is industrial, healthcare, and agriculture, BDB provides customized business research solutions for its clients in India and globally. The BDB Book Club, the session for which we have joined today, is a social initiative of BDB India Private Limited. It was humbly started in October 2010, and this is the 15th years we have completed this October. BDB Book Club over the years have hosted some special book reading sessions for its members over the years on some very different, wide, diverse topics which keep increasing year on year. We have covered topics which are largely non-fiction related to business, economics, leadership, personal growth, professionalism, and we keep adding more and more as we see the diversity in the topics. And we have been fortunate to bring some esteemed authors to share their views and experience on variety of these subjects over the years. Some of the authors that we have been very fortunate to host has been Dr. Shashi Tharu, Dr. Mashelkar, Mr. Ravi Venkateshan, Mr. R. Gopalakrishnan, and Mr. Prakash Iyer, only to name a few. A quick note for our today's session that we are going to start shortly. For all the members who have joined us, please note that your mic and camera have been intentionally disabled, and this is only with a purpose to ensure that there is a minimal disruptions while the author is in conversation. We would definitely be having a Q&A session after the initial conversation and context is done by the author. And in order to do so, we would invite our members to have an interaction, open interaction with the authors on the topic. And for this, you will have to simply raise your hand using the emojis that are provided in Microsoft Team platform, so that our team will enable your mic and camera so that you can interact with the author. Alternatively, one can also use the comment box. There is a chat box which is also as a feature with this platform. You can type in your questions in the comment box and we will take them in the order as they appear so that those questions something which are visible to everyone. So, all right, without a much ado, should get into our today's session. As you would have already seen the book title that we are going to discuss, it's the title says Global Development Impact. However, there is lots of different layers that this book is going to talk about. And this is a book that, of course, I have had an opportunity to read through because this is something I had enough a period of 3 months to go through it. And it's a very interesting topic because it covers a very different topic, a very fresh topic, something which we have not discussed in the past. This is pertaining to sustainable investment and finance in context to the global development. And the author also goes on to talk about its implication in future business. And he follows a very unique approach by through a storytelling, and that is something which adds it more dimension because there are certain financial and technical terms, but the way he covers those topics in a very simplified way through storytelling is something which is makes it an interesting read as we move from chapter to chapter. I think that is something which I would also leave it for the author to describe further. Further, there are some of the very interesting topics this book also talks about because in today's time we had once talked about the book on which was about the climate change, but I think this book also talks about several insights on carbon pricing models, sustainability, structured finance, because something which is would be a very interesting read for organizations who are investing into ESG, into models, so that they can actually be have sustainable initiatives, but at the same time be profitable. So I think these are some of the topics that the book definitely refers to and talks very much in depth. So it's a topic which the only the experts can refer to, can talk about, and that is where we have one of the the expert, the author, who himself has brought this topic to us. I would welcome Mr. Malhotra. Mr. Malhotra, good morning and welcome to BDB Book Club. We are honored to have you on this session, and I hope you are doing well. I understand you have been traveling as well, but so it's something which thank you so much for finding time to talk on this book as well. I would just give a brief introduction also about the author, because this is a book, something which has been critically acclaimed as well as well received. Mr. Malhotra is a solo founder of the Middle Road, a global upskilling and a thought leadership platform. He has founded his firm, and he brings his 12 years of core sector experience, which is from the financial services, education. He himself has been in entrepreneurship, and also talks about the business development, consulting, technology, and also his interesting subject, that how to make a social impact. And that is where the book arises out of. He's a certified ESG investing. He has a certified in ESG investing by CFA Institute, and that is something which was in 2024. He has authored over 100 articles developed across multiple online sources, and has hosted some global change makers through a podcast. The organization that he has founded is the termed by Middle Road, and that is something which he would also be referring to. He's an alumnus of University of Michigan, and has completed several courses in specialization through CEIBS China and also SIBM India. His main mission, what he is actually very proud to convey, is to make a global development more inclusive, informed, and impactful. So, Mr. Malhotra, very good morning and welcome once again. We would like to hear from you more on this topic, very interesting topic as well. We are very fortunate to see you here on the screen. So we would let's take us through as to how this book, some introduction about it, and how it came to your interest and converting into a book, and how this topic is of interest. Yes,
Thanks a
over to
lot.
you, sir.
Thanks, Jeet. I really appreciate the invitation. Thanks to also BDB Book Club for for inviting me for this fascinating discussion. So before I begin anything, let's start with a very simple thing. The book is termed as Global Development Impact. Now I want to ask all my audience, what do you understand when I talk about development sector? And then so that
Yeah.
we are on the same plan. Just anybody, just give your guess. It doesn't matter. Just trying to understand what does development mean, and everybody would have a different meaning. Okay, so when I talk about the development sector, a lot of people think it's non-profit, but its development sector is by far bigger in my sense. When I'm talking about development sector, I'm also talking about, of course, multilaterals and some of the biggest actors like the government or the sovereigns, the corporates, and the multilateral, bilateral, and other development organizations are working. So, okay, so when you talk about cost reduction, so when I'm talking about development sector, it is basically how you're actually improving the lives of the less privileged people. Now, this could be a very loose term. It could also mean that a startup could be a part. These are enablers. Now today, startups could be social entrepreneurs. Like, for example, my startup is an impact-driven startup. So that could be helping the development sector by giving education at affordable rates, or, perspectives at affordable rates. So this is what I mean by development. Today, the development sector is very broad. It has got a lot of actors. There's a lot of corporate participation. There are a lot of fascinating structures. So the whole idea of the book was that how the development sector has evolved over a period of time. Today, everything is performance driven. So when we talk about the book, we'll try to understand why, how some of the biggest changes within the development sector has been the social finance. So that's why the book predominantly discusses, and as I'll tell you more about the book, the predominantly focus of the book is not only on social finance and how social finance has changed over a period of time. It talks total development sector in the form of ESG, environmental governance and climate, and how these factors, how various some specific regulations have come, which has changed and changed the world for the better. So let me start with taking by sharing the presentation. You can ask me questions anytime. You are free to interrupt. And of course, Jeet can anytime let me know that somebody has, if there's a question, because I'll not be able to understand if you have already raised the hand. So let's start with what the global development impact about. Like I said, it has a very strong, it's set in a narrative style. So how did I write in a narrative style? So the inspiration of the book was predominantly came a long time back during my sabbatical between 2014 when I traveled around the world. I'm a Theravada Buddhist, so I traveled to monasteries, but I also went to yoga centers. I went to different various forms of well-being. And at that point of time, I saw the Generation Z, the new generation was deeply impacted. They were more impact driven. They were more focused on well-being. They wanted to have a better life. Our generation, or as a matter of the generation before us, was actually a lot involved in work. During my time, at least, it changed a bit during the early 2000. But now the new generation, as you all know, is a rich generation because trillions of dollars have been transferred to them because their parents worked harder. And they are more concerned about how the environment is impacting them, how governance and how various other factors are making the life a bit better. So the whole part of the inspiration not only came from a lot of serials, I'm sure you see serials like, you must have seen sitcoms like Friends, you would have seen Seinfeld, you would have seen Big Bang Theory and others, where, there's a collection of friends who come and the story revolves around it. So I wanted to write a fascinating research piece, but I didn't want it to be so pedantic that the pedagogy is only limited to academic institutions. And I had also read the book. I don't know how many people of you have read the book, The Goal. The Goal, although is set in, it's not a, it's a non-fiction. The storyline is non-fiction. Here, the storyline is a bit fiction. It's inspired by true people. It's some of them is inspired by people I've met over a period of years. It's set in America. And of course, Kish is inspired by me. The love interest, Caroline, she's inspired by American Woman. If you look at various narratives like Adriana or Yuntang, all of them have been inspired to a certain extent. There are, of course, a lot of people went in. It's not one person who inspired, but still it's been inspired by a woman whom I, at one point of time, I admired, or, so, I was in love with, or whatever it is. So basically, the whole setup has been made in a way that people find it to be really interesting. And to bridge the gap between the theory and actually practices, uh, I have seen it's backed by real life cases. Now, that could be from the top multilaterals like World Bank, different kinds of multilaterals, or in reality, the whole point of the book was to cover various aspects of sustainable finance, and we'll understand what we mean by it. At the same time, there is it's very wide. So the whole beautiful part is, if I had not created different friends, I could not have created or coalesced so many different topics like ESG, sustainable investing, which is on a rise, social innovation, startup ecosystem, and macroeconomics. What are the macro and micro perspectives, which we will discuss. So this book, although highly entertaining, is a deep dive, highly research focused, which discusses complex theories. And the greatest part of this book is it is able to blend all these topics within that story. So now, why would you buy this book? the book is, of course, in this book enables you to work across a wide spectrum of roles in the development sector. So if you read this book, you come to, you need not be an expert in the development sector, but let's say it's not for people only who are looking for careers in the development sector, but you want to understand how the development sector is evolving. You want to know more about global philanthropy. Global philanthropy is now again very results driven. The grants are predominantly more performance driven. Basically, you are looking at results, and there's a chapter also on that, maybe not directly related to global philanthropy, but how on a broader scale the development sector is changing. Now, let's say you want to also work in consulting. You want to know about ESG, social finance. This is an excellent book to give you a absolutely cutting edge knowledge of what's happening within the development sector. Although it's about 300 plus pages, it's a very heavy read. It's that's why I didn't want to sort of go beyond a level. The reversion of the book, of course, will be much more comprehensive, a bit bigger. But this is a very, very detailed read. I do understand sometimes some of the chapters could be very heavy, but what's beautifully is that you need not know anything to read this book. And what this book does with the narrative style, it exposes to a lifestyle. Now, everybody has got his lifestyle. I've sort of shared a wholesome lifestyle. That's what the whole America is about. So I was deeply like, changed with America and China. I studied like in University of Michigan Ann Arbor. I did my master's in public administration from Gerald Ford School of Public Policy. But then I'd done a couple of MBAs, and one of the MBAs was from China Europe International Business School in Shanghai. And SEEBS is one of the top, it's actually the top ranked school in Asia and one of the top ranked schools globally. So I had a lot of influence. I've brought a lot of influence in book also through art and culture. For example, through China, I have brought in using martial arts as a way of life. So I wanted to pay a tribute to these two countries, which have had a huge influence. So I built on characters, as you'll see, as you'll go ahead. Like Jeet Balani has already introduced me. I'll quickly go through. I have a master's degree, like I said, from University of Michigan in public administration. I have a couple of MBAs from SEEBS, Shanghai, and SIBM, Pune, China. I worked about, so total my work experience will be about 15 years. I worked a lot in the finance sector, specifically in private banking space. And I worked as an intern also in private banking abroad with Standard Chartered Bank. So this is what a bit of my experience. Right now, I'm also the co-chair of APAC Academic Hub in Social and Entrepreneurship with Catalyst now. My startup is a learning partner of Herky, which focuses a lot on empowerment of women. And at one point of time, I was the inaugural ambassador to Capacity for Dev, which is actually backed by, operated by European Commission. I think you should look at it. It's a fantastic platform, like similarly like Catalyst now. Now, we had a talk about the middle road. I'll just very quickly say this book is an extension of what I did in the middle road. I built the middle road from scratch. Almost all the content, unless otherwise specified, is mine. I didn't build the website, but I manage the website on my own. Or sometimes I need help, then I would go and get a consultant. So this book, so this is basically blending art and culture. It's loosely inspired by United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. And these are some of the topics covered. Now, these topics are very also covered within the book. Some of the topics were covered on the website, on the portal, and it's been an extension of what I do. So the beautiful part of art, why it's unique and why it's disruptive is it's affordably priced, it uses technology and blends media with tech. So there's various forms of innovation. So it's basically is also into media and also into online courses. So these are some of the achievements which you could look at, but we'll quickly go forward to what the middle road is, to what the book is about. So now picture this, the world has changed. Now, every dollar which you invest, there was a time when, grants were the thing where people within the development sector gave grants without looking at what the results were. But then it changed and this development sector became very development oriented. Now picture this, every dollar you invest does not generate returns. It has to drive real change. So when you talk about real change, people are trying to understand climate change. They want to know how much reduction of carbon emissions is taking place, whether it's empowering communities, specifically less privileged section of the society. and it's building a more fair and just world. This is predominantly what the picture is right now globally. And in this sector, if you talk about development sector, the Europe leads uh, in terms of taxonomy regulations. China leads in number of investments within the low carbon sector. So there's no comparison to how much China is investing. From what I know, they invested something about more than 600, between 600 and 700 billion dollars last year. And of course, America is always been one of the leaders. It's been leaders in terms of regulations, getting best practices, and also in terms of sort of funding startups or investments within this space. So during the Biden administration, there was a huge focus within this particular sector. But you can say development sector has been always there because development is not only climate. Let me be very clear on that. When I'm talking about development, it sort of broadly encompasses, among other things, ESG, which is environment, governance, how better governance your corporate world is, or it could be taken in a country, and of course, climate, like environment, S for social. So how you are changing the world in the show. When you're talking about social sense, it becomes that are you making the world more inclusive? Are you sort of helping the underprivileged section of the society? Things it could be like an affordable healthcare, affordable education, affordable housing. So these are some of the topics when you're talking about social ESG. These are some of the topics which are very relevant. So like I talked about, Kish is predominantly the chief protagonist, just written as a story. And he's shown as an ambitious, as a mirror image of what I stood for and what I do. Caroline is, of course, inspired by American woman. I mean, here she's shown as a white woman. She's actually truly inspired by a white woman, and one of them in particular. So this is a bit of it. So names have changed, but it's not like just one character has been inspired, but there are others. Adriana has been also inspired by somebody truly I know. She's shown as a Latino, Brad Solomon. So Shu Wenjung and Yun Tong are again both Chinese. One is from mainland China and the other is Chinese origin. Alice is shown as somebody from France. So these all characters in loosely have been inspired by many people whom I've met over a period of time, and or some of people could be uh, very specifically more impact driven than the others. So the whole idea was to create a story which is predominantly on friendship, lifestyle, love as a background, but keeping ESG focus, sustainable investing focus in mind. So when you talk about this narrative, what are you trying to understand when you read this book? You're going to have a deep dive in understanding asset classes. You will understand the role of asset managers. So when I talk about asset managers, it could be BlackRock, it could be Franklin Templeton, it could be HDFC Bank, which is again AMC could be an example of asset managers who are doing. It could be hedge funds. It could be various, like Renaissance hedge fund has been discussed here, which is one of the best hedge funds in the world. To tell you a bit these, and we'll understand as you read the book why this is important, why technology and innovation is important, why productivity is important, and how they correlate within the development sector. So development sector does not move as a separate thing. The heart and core of any civilization is the understanding of innovation, productivity, what drives productivity, and how does economic expansion plays. So when we talk about social finance, this is actually the core topic, and this is discussed very much in depth. I've almost come out with almost all the products which could be, which sort of products have been designed. So it talks about sustainable impact bonds. On the middle road, there is actually a course on impact bonds. It's both development and social impact bonds. And then you have carbon pricing and emission markets. Smart beta investment products are something very new. This is a cross between active and passive sort of investments. They're highly rising within the world, and they're making also a difference within the development sector, or the themes actually related to the development sector. Now, it also talks about blended finance. Blended finance has been always there in mainstream finance, but it has changed. It's immensely used now within the development sector. Again, results-based financing, structured finance, solutions. So when you talk about all these solutions and you'll think, oh, it's very difficult, you're understanding investment products, there are some complex derivatives, but you need not know anything. I mean, if you are aware of it, it certainly helps. It will be a faster read, but then everything has been explained. And like I said, there are real time case studies from World Banks like multilaterals like the World Bank Group. And there are quizzes to make it very exciting. There are certain regulations and policies which are also attached. And among chiefly is EU taxonomy. Now, EU taxonomy is one of the most important regulations that came out within the development sector. Like I said, Europe is the leader in terms of regulations, but other countries have also been done. I mean, India has also done good in terms of over a period of time. We have taken strides. We have come out also with regulations and sort of trying to come up with various ways to cut carbon emissions. But of course, air pollution now is a major concern in Delhi, and it would be a concern as we go forward around India. But why sustainable finance? Now, sustainably goes mainstream. So this is the reason why, if you need to understand the world markets, sustainable development is something which you cannot ignore. Climate finance is so important right now, or climate change has become so important right now. The world is bifurcated, not understanding the social and governance themes. So these are things which is very important. So I am also certified in sustainable investing from CFA. So you can understand how important it is that CFA Institute has come out with certifications on various aspects. Now, social finance is innovation is also rising globally. Like we talked about blended finance, there's a detailed chapter on blended finance where we'll come to know why it's become important, and it sort of plays a role including in structured products, where or structured finance. That's where the basic concept is how you're using blended finance to fund various initiatives. So let's talk about sustainable finance. Why sustainable investing is very important. So if you see over a period of time, GSIA comes out with a major report, and these are some of the how the sustainable finances, sustainable investing is moving over a period of time. And if you're looking at sustainable investing by strategy, you can understand right now, at one point of time, ESG integration becomes the most important part of sustainable investing. But last year, I think corporate engagement and shareholder action was the largest pie around the world. But ESG was the number one, I think, before that. But ESG still remains as the most comprehensive because it goes from the top down and bottom down is how you are going to be integrating ESG within your investing when you invest. So there are, of course, negative screening is something which we started with basically certain industries like tobacco or armament industry you will not be investing in. The norms are certain specific ways you can invest in various types of investment. Then you have sustainability themes. In best in class, of course, is another very important way of looking at investing, because you actually look at the top quartile, or there are various ways of investing in this space, but you could put up your own benchmark and say, okay, I'll invest in top 10% of the people whose focus or whose mission is deeply focused with the ESG sector. So what was the total issuance of green social sustainability, which we call GSS plus bonds in 2024? Anybody? Okay, we'll come to this at a later date. So when we talk about sustainable finance, so what we mean by sustainable finance? So IMF defines it as incorporation of ESG factors, principles into business sessions, economic development, and investment strategies. Now, understanding environment and social, so I've got this small environment, social, and governance, how these themes are covered. So when we talk about environment, I think a lot of people know about climate change, renewables, we talk about biodiversity, we talk about waste management, sustainability, like how you are going to be being more efficient and you're going to be more green. So this could be translating into green buildings, clean tech. Uh, Electric vehicles are an excellent example of, if you want to, reduce pollution and be more environment friendly, you will have EVs, which is what has been one of the major themes globally. Now, when we talk about social, I talk about how you can help marginalized community, how it could be more inclusive, how it could be underserved markets. You'd like people to be accepted or within. So this is a prime example. Like what I wanted to focus on social was affordable healthcare and housing. There's an example on affordable housing from one of the countries, how they've used that as a tool, how sustainable bonds are being used as a tool. And governance. So governance could be corporate governance, corporate behavior, regulatory management, affordable disclosures, data privacy. So just to tell you why I also come out with affordable housing, because my father is very, very focused towards affordable housing. Like, at an older age, people should have affordable housing. So my mother and father, uh, like my mother wanted a woman empowerment. So that's again a part of the social factor, gender equity. So these are certain themes which my parents inspired, and sort of that's how I brought in some of the themes in my book as well. So now when we talk about evidence-based, so you have to understand, okay, so one of the things when you talk about evidence-based is how you're going to be calculating impact. Now, impact could be calculated in various ways. Of course, one of the most golden standard is randomized controlled trials. And, Abhijit Banerjee and, Kramer and, of course, his wife, they won Nobel Prize. Now, Nobel Prize was given because they have a company which JPAL, which is actually considered one of the best companies in understanding impact valuation, which is known as randomized controlled trials. But that's not the only way you do impact valuation. There could be simple statistical ways which you can also use it, but that is the best way. So, as you understand the growing importance of evidence-based, you would understand the rise of impact valuation. And one of the reasons why you know the Nobel Prize was given to Abhijit Banerjee, his wife, and another person, is they focus on understanding how much impact you have done over a period of time. I would highly suggest there are free papers available. They've written some excellent papers across different boards, not only for this. It could be like how, in one of the papers which I was very exciting, which I read, was how much telecalling actually is really impacting politics in America. So you could read about it. You could, have your understanding basically of different ways. So, okay, now the increased use of securitization and credit enhancement structures. So, structured finance is typically segmented into senior, mezzanine, junior, or equity tranches. This is something which you'll know under the chapter of securitization, because this becomes very important. The reason why is it that multilaterals would usually be taking the junior or equity tranches, and the senior tranche is actually given to a private place. So this is one way of actually attracting private capital within the development sector. So you then have carbon pricing, you have sustainable and impact bonds, complex structured products. So in one of the chapters, I've used interest rate swaps, and this is a product which is actually right now in the market is being used in Vietnam as a case study, and you would just find it very exciting. So this book is actually pretty heavy in development economics and finance. Like I said, it talks about productivity. It talks about how maybe artificial intelligence is changing the productivity production wave. It talks about the Cog Douglas production model, the slow model, and the Paul Romer model, indigenous model, which actually takes that if more people. So there's a theory that slow model that if you are producing more people, that's going to hurt economic growth. Whereas the indigenous model takes that the rise of population, specifically the labor force, is as good because you could train them and you can make them more effective. So this sort of, theories have also been discussed. So when we talk about sustainable finance, I'll just take a brief pause here, uh, just to understand if you have any questions. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
Rashmi, you
just
could
a
ask one
moment.
here.
We have,
Yeah, Rashmi
yeah, your
Kumar,
mic
you
and
can.
camera is enabled.
Okay, hi. Hi. Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. I'm
Yes.
Rashmi, and thanks for giving me an opportunity to speak at this platform. So, when I just want to know, I just want to take your opinion on when it comes to, ESG funding or sustainability funding. I know that though European nations doing fantastic job, they are more focused on the sustainability and their policy, their regulation. They do talk about, and they are absolutely they are the initiator, and European nations doing they are really a good job they are doing, and so accordingly Asian countries also are following up. But very recently, after coming of Trump's, you know in the United Nations, we are seeing, and I'm hearing in the news itself that he's saying that this is all bullshit, that the US is not going to support this, the peace deal, I think it's in the Paris one, Paris deal, right? So not supporting. So how is it going to really impact going forward? So though you are doing, but again, US is the main country, across the world, they are the main, and they are supposed to support this initiatives. If they are going to hold back, then how this ESG is really going to be taken care by all other countries across the world? Would this be continuing? Will this be any impact? Though I know that corporate sector started taking initiatives, incorporating, integrating such policies in their, corporate governance. But would this really impact the US if the US doesn't support, or they really don't take these things seriously?
See,
Yeah,
okay, so I understand looking at the political scenario right now. So it maybe has a bit of a dip in the short run, but I think in the long run it's not going to change because the Europe is very highly focused towards these sectors. Then China, which is like I said, the largest investor in low carbon technologies, has not they have now opened the largest carbon markets in the world. So if you look at in that context, America actually has, I can understand they have the largest producer of oil. So they are at this point of time, focusing more on that.
yeah,
But that doesn't mean that other things like governance and social impact would be changing. For example, the largest backer of World Bank is actually America, United States of America, and the World Bank is actually focused a lot on funding interventions, which you call interventions, could be sort of, as you know, theory of change. You'll understand more of the interventions are what interventions are, basically policies or anything which you do to change, or projects which you to have an change or to have an ultimate outcome. These could be smaller interventions or connected interventions. So if you look at this way also, a lot of things are market driven now. Um, if you read the book, you'll come to know about NL. So that's a company which has got a sustainability linked bond. So nowadays, sustainability linked bonds have become very popular among corporates to, go to the market and have specific targets. So these targets not only for climate, it could be gender equity and anything within the ESG space. And the
yeah,
reason why they do it is because they can get a discount on the funding. So I come out with a bond, I have to give a coupon or an interest rate. So I can give a discounted interest rate when the market knows I have ESG as a theme, and I can benchmark that. So I can benchmark my mission, I can benchmark my vision of the company through what is known as KPIs, or which are linked to sustainability targets.
yes,
So to answer your question, no. I mean, in the shorter run, yeah, it does, because America still was the largest funder of development interventions. To a certain
yes,
extent, it would. But if you look at other way, the clean tech industry still a lot of people get funded from America. So America is one of the largest funders of clean tech technologies. So a lot of companies who either are in Europe, so that's why Europe is now trying to fund their own
hmm,
people. They ultimately go to America uh,
yes,
so that you get funded in America. And so if you're looking at in a way that ESG is a long term which nobody can destroy.
hmm,
ESG is much more broader, and the development sector is going to be there. Like I
hmm,
said, yeah, over a shorter period of time, yeah, certain industries, I would say, certain aspects would be
hmm,
affected that we have already seen with the USAID. But
yes,
uh, looking at it, India should look at not in the way, for example, a lot of funding of interventions are coming through top foundations like Susan Dell Foundation, Bill Gates Foundation. And now something like Rohini, philanthropies, a philanthropic agency, has been doing excellent work in India. So you need to think about not only that what Indians have to think about, and a lot of work is being done by some of the top foundations like Convergence foundations in in Delhi, where they are trying to sort of ultra high HNIs are trying to invest in India to fund interventions. So when I like, for example, I talked about Rohini Nilkenani philanthropy. So they are doing excellent work. So what I'm trying to say is that one should not only rely on international money. International money comes through various ways, but I think India is not relying too much on that. Yeah, a lot of foundations from America and Europe do fund a lot of stuff in India, like, but uh, looking at your say, I would say that it's going to remain as a major theme globally, because that is how the world's going to move. I mean, climate is a serious threat.
Yes, absolutely.
Social inequity is a serious threat, and
Mhm.
then governance norms. So why do you want to go to America or Western countries? Because they have the best governance norms. That's what you want to go. You'll get a much better value for your life. You have a work-life balance. So these are the themes ultimately. Generation Z and a lot of other or the newer generation
Western
are
countries.
it's very important to them. I think
Mhm.
there's sort of a
Yeah.
critical proof which has come out that people are not going for jobs because they are more now. And what's really interesting, because it's changed in India also, and I'm very happy. This was a time which I used to think that way about 20 years back, is that you get a job which you really are passionate about, not rather than doing a job which might be getting you much better in, so I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so anybody else, let me know and then we'll go forward. Okay. Am I going too fast, or it's okay? You think the space is okay? Okay, fair enough. Like I said, when you talk about sustainable finance, these are some of the products which you could look at. Like I've divided into asset classes. It could be equity, fixed income, and alternatives. And these are some of the ways you could get funded. And when we talk about sustainable bonds, this is again covered in depth in the book. This is one chapter. And this is a very important chapter where you talked about what are green bonds, blue bonds, social bonds, sustainability, ESG bonds, sustainability linked bonds, which I talked about. I spoke recently about the example of NL, which is actually quoted in the book. So fixed income, and I'm talking about bonds and loans. Uh, when you talk about regulated financial markets, you fairly bit of understand what the bonds are, what equity is, and then what the various themes are. So just to look at it, sustainable bond issuance per category. This is ICMA. ICMA is one of the leading champions of sustainable finance globally, and they come out also with their own sort of It's not, I would say, regulations. It's something which you can follow on your own. So there are certain criterias which they come out. Now, that is for what makes particular funding, whether it's bond or loans, green, social sustainability, and sustainability linked. So now you could see this chart. This is not updated for 2025. I will have that also updated, but this is just to give you a brief idea of how this particular segment is rising over a period of years. Now, this is the cumulative GSS plus bond issued in trillions of dollars. So you could look at how it has changed. It's basically crossed $5 trillion. So if you look at the total bond market outstanding, it would be more than $100 trillion. So still, if you look at the GSS theme bonds, it's still a long way to go. But actually, it is rising at a faster rate. Now, you could have also, what people are doing is you have various mechanisms like this is an excellent way where SMEs abroad, specifically in America, where capital markets are very widely used, or in not so much in Europe or even China, but America, the capital markets are being very actively used by corporates to raise money. And this could be an excellent way of using money, of raising capital for your mission if it's aligned towards the development themes. Because, like I said, you get a haircut on your coupon. If I'm going to pay less and I'll be more aligned, people today are very impact driven, that there is a special report on sustainability impact. And if you're sustainably impact and very high on sustainable investments, a lot of asset managers are going to invest in you. Like Vanguard, some of the top asset managers, like I talked about, would be investing in you if you are particularly aligned in, because that is what the investment theme is also all. Now, when we talk about EU taxonomy, we talk about a classification system. One of the first times it came for sustainable activities. And to qualify, you have to contribute substantially to at least one of the 6 objectives. This is climate change, mitigation, large-scale adoption, water, marine, circular economy. Circular economy is very big in Europe. You try to use things which you can reuse, so it becomes a cycle. And I think circular economy is something very interesting. Pollution prevention. Now you understand how big a topic this has become, at least in India, or actually globally. People are making green buildings. One good example here is, actually I saw a video of China, how at one point of time when I was in 2009 to 2011, air pollution was a huge topic in China. But then how they remarkably came out and they worked around it. So there are various steps they took within the green energy space, and today you have very clear skies. So that's an excellent example which people can learn from. Then you have biodiversity. So these are some of the milestones which I've discussed. There are a lot many milestones. So these are some of the milestones, like I talked about why green bond. Green bond was came out with EIB, European Investment Banks, were the first one to get. Then immediately after that, the next green bond was launched by World Bank. And these are some of the various. SFDR is, of course, new regulations have come in SFDR. This is another very important regulation, specifically within the finance space, which has come out by EU. Now, when you talk about EU taxonomy, there are certain criteria. So it should not significantly harm any principle, the activities which I've talked about. It has to contribute immensely towards one activity, but it cannot significantly harm any other activity. It has to comply with the norm space, which I talked about, with the labor, human rights, governance standards, which are OECD guidelines, UN guiding principles. But then like I talked about, norms investing. So these are some of the very specific norms which have come out around by the leading place. OECD is one of the largest champions of within the development sector. So this is they come out with certain rules and regulations, and you have to comply with them. That's plain, fast, and simple. It's also mandatory for certain firms to have various, disclosures, or have this particular disclosure within the taxonomy. Okay, so these are some of the testimonials which have been given. Himla Joshi is a seasoned financial services leader. So he's read this book. This is what he has been given. This is also printed in the new edition, where some of the testimonials have been published. And the book is available on Amazon, Flipkart, Barnes and Noble, Coop, and others. So it's predominantly very sort of available at various places. Another thing is that the podcasts from the middle road are on Spotify, Apple. There are a lot of podcasts which is focused within the development sector. As a matter of fact, majorly most of the podcasts are focused within the development sector as I define it. And you have some of the best leaders in India speak, like, you had Anu Aga, Mr. Ramanan Ramanathan, Anu Prasad from ILSS. So they have given their view. So you can know a lot about Nagma Mullah from Gift Foundation. So just to sort of name Manoj Kumar. And then, of course, globally, you have Dr. Helen Clark, who's a world leader within the theory of change space. So she's so you could listen to the podcast. There are some podcasts which would really help. Some of the podcasts did make it. Some of the material did make it to the middle road, to the book. So like I said, the book was an extension of some of the work which I did for my company, for my startup, the Middle Road. And then it sort of, I went further in a lot of things and I came out with a concrete way. The whole idea of the book was that you understand how not only regulations, predominantly very high in our development economics and finance, how the sustainable finance is changing over a period of time, and how it's being used. So just to make you understand that the development sector finance cutting edge has got now almost all the products we see in mainstream. You could make any complex structure, you could make exotics, you can have structured finance, you could have various ways to invest in this particular sector better. And you could have a theme, any theme which you can take within the development sector. And then you can sort of tailor a product or tailor any product within this space. So when you talk about, let's say, results-based financing, let me give you an example. I didn't cover much about impact bonds. So social impact bonds was actually launched in UK, and development impact bonds are basically funded by, not social impact bonds are funded by government, development impact bonds are funded by philanthropies or other actors, and they're actually specifically used within the developing countries. Social impact bonds are used within the advanced nations. Now, educate girls, if I stand corrected, at least during my time till the book went in press, it was the largest development impact bond which was implemented in India. Was implemented in Rajasthan. It was for empowerment of women, for education within the K-12 space, within school space, where they wanted to make sure that the education is imparted to the less privileged section of the society. And one of the ways they sort of looked at was the how much participation and what was the sort of attendance of young girls coming to schools. So this could be a part of a barometer, just to sort of, and it was concluded uh, very successfully. Just to give you an example. So when you look at my book, it's a very global book. It has got examples from around the world, not only India. India has got a few examples, but sort of major examples are come from around the world, and how the products are being used very effectively for bettering the society. To name a few. Now I'll open up the Q&A session. You can ask me anything about the book. I can sort of also go in detail how the book was used. So one way of giving back in this book was not only, so I'm still a bachelor, but over a period of time, a lot of girls influenced me. So one way of giving back was to make characters of the girls, of the women who actually different are period of time, specifically within the America and China, I would say, not within the Latin America, because my interactions were very few, but it was very specifically to sort of also pay a tribute. And one of the ways I paid a tribute is do character sketching, which is basically I did a bit of research. So just to give you an example, Ellis is shown to be proficient in judo. Now, I know that among all the Western countries, judo is highly used in France. So France is one of the few countries which has been very regularly winning medals in this judo category in Olympics. So just to give you an idea, that's the sort of thought process which went in while creating the book. So I would say that this book was very personal, at least in the narrative sense, that I could sort of bring out all the various aspects of the woman. I mean, it's not all the women who influenced me I could get specifically. India was not covered. But then the whole idea was to give a wholesome book, which gives you a sort of a specific lifestyle, but it's very entertaining. But within that is highly research work. I think there are more than 60 graphs. You can understand sort of what sort of work has gone in this particular book. So yeah, you could now open the table and you can ask me any question. First, let me say, was I able to convey? Uh, let's begin with that. Was I able to convey to you what exactly is in the book? What were the motivations? Why I wrote this book? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Mr. Malhotra, first of all, thank you so much for taking us through this topic, which is very wide, also complex in a very simple way. And your book also does the similar thing in terms of expressing those case studies and examples. I think that is something which
Your voice is
has
cracking.
really been spot on. Some of there are some topics, which of course you talked about. Am I audible? Hello.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're audible right now. Yeah, I think I lost you. You were
Okay, okay.
audible.
Yeah. So I was mentioning that some of the yeah. Am I
Yeah,
think
you are audible, and then again you.
yeah. So I think what I'll do, I'll share my views later. I think we can open for interaction. Can ask the we can ask the open for Q&A.
Yeah, everybody, let's open for Q&A. I
Yes.
love to have you. I would really appreciate you buy the book, give me a review. It's a highly personal book, but then it's gives you a lot of education. I wanted to write a book which was based in the pedagogy. I reached out to some of the top economists also around the world to give a foreplay, to get a idea about the book and the feedback. And the feedback has been excellent from every quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. So if there are any questions, clarifications, details specific to topic, one can proceed.
You could ask me, yeah, about the topics, anything about the book, which you think is appealing, various products, if you want to ask me, and how it's being done. Yeah, but I really appreciate Rashmi, but I really would appreciate if we do have the questions, something, just ask me whatever you think, and don't hesitate. Uh, it gives you a very good idea about, how to write a book, or if you just want to know what sort of what sort of things, how you want to sort of any advice, because this was my first experience, and actually it was very time consuming. It was very exhausting. I was mentally very exhausted at the time, and there are certain things which I realized I shouldn't have done. I just kept on writing. The original book would have been around uh, uh, maybe 400 pages. It was so many topics within. So you have to have a sort of, just to sort of also interrupt, when I talked about Abhijit Banerjee, of course, his wife is Esther Duflo, and I didn't mention her name. So that is what. And the other person who won the Nobel Prize was Michael Kramer, just in case I did mention it, but I didn't mention his first name. So when I wrote this book, I always wanted to write. This was 10 years in coming. I think I was been writing heavily for my startup, and one of the mistakes I did is that I did not. So I kept on going on into different topics, into sort of philosophy also, which would have been a major aspect of the book. Ultimately, thank God, it was sort of cut down. For example, the way the book covers art and culture in America, it could be through museums, rock music. I've been a huge fan of rock music or even country music. So the book would come through the storyline. That's why the storyline was good. That's why this book is so unique that you might not find anything like this in the world. It's written more like a fast-paced story or a movie. If you'll see how the settings have been done, that's how the book was made. So that could be also made into a movie. But the whole aspect of the book is that it brings different perspectives in, including how the art and culture or well-being is being covered through the through people and their hobbies, and what they listen to or what they play or there's a session about the gym, how people they meet in the gym and how the exercise is being done. So sort of how to bring it the feel good factor, or sort of a wholesome attitude towards the book. The book keeps American culture right up there the way America is. So the opinion about America is very distorted around the world. Of course, looking at if you look at television, you get a very distorted picture. You get a similarly distorted picture about China, but when you go there, it's absolutely different thing. It's, lovely people. So the whole idea was to how use various characters to bring in a part which is actually in the background and keeping not losing the focus on ESG or the themes which it covers, not exactly ESG, sustainable investing and social finance, and some of the regulations governing the development sector. So Akash, Anamika, Deepak, I mean, I'm very, uh, I'm very thankful that all of you joined, and but Nikita, I mean, everybody of you,
Yes, if there are any questions, queries, please feel free to, because it covers a wide variety of topics here.
And another thing, what good I did is I made the book very affordably priced. So, I mean, there was a time, of course, 1 month there were free downloads, Kindle downloads, but it's still priced in very, very affordable. When you go to read the book and the sort of topics it covers, or finance, or economics, or some of the knowledge which you get shared. Specifically, there's another very good thing which I did is I refer to some of the very fantastic academic papers or papers which you can access. Some of them could be paid. A lot of things are not, or websites. For example, let's look at a startup ecosystem that talks about through its own ways how to make correct pitch decks, some of the tips on pitch decks, how you could raise money, sort of talking about slush, echoing green, various ways where you could raise money through. So it sort of comes as in a very short while, but at least you come to know what are the major enablers within the startup ecosystem. The book whole idea was to make it very global. I've always been global. My startup was right from the first day with the aim to be headquartered in America, Canada, or abroad. That was the whole idea. I started as a startup with very minimalistic funding from my parents to sort of take it forward. So the whole idea of the book is to make it very global, but at the same time not losing the focus on how things are being done in India. So that's why there are cases in India, cases are covered. There's sort of how some of the innovation has been used within the green space also in India. So this covers predominantly the whole gamut of I've tried to sort of include from whatever I could from case studies from globally everywhere, so that no part is left out. Maybe there could be certain hints from Africa also, Latin America also.
Right. So I don't think there are any more questions.
Okay. So I hope
I
the
think the
session
topic.
was insightful, informative. You were able to sort of get a gist of what I said.
Yes, please do share the feedback in terms of how was the overall interaction, the kind of topics which were covered. Does it entice you to read through the book? Some of the topics, I understand these are the topics which are something which one would not would have read, and these are some of the newer topics, newer concepts, particularly from the finance aspect. Also, somebody who's into the field would certainly would find it very relevant.
Yeah, see, whether you are in any
Yeah.
corporate, whether you are a individual who just has an interest, this gives you an excellent perspective. I can bet anywhere you will be an expert, or within you will have a fantastic an idea of how this sector works. You'll have an understanding of how global philanthropy works. You'll have an understanding how the cutting edge products, which have not been covered, I think, because you would not go and read. I had to read so many research papers. I cannot explain that. I almost was over. And at one point of time, I had given up. It was a nightmare. Let me tell you the last one. But writing is one of the most pleasurable experiences. I would always recommend people to write whatever you're passionate about, because you're going to learn more. It's going to be a learning journey, and you're sharing one of the best knowledge with others. And I think that's one of the best. That's a very wholesome and a very wholesome action, I would say, which you're doing to the world. I mean, you're giving knowledge and you're giving the best in that. You try to make it the best in class. You try whatever you can. Of course, you'll never succeed to be the best, or you'll never be able to exceed the benchmark which you're doing. But a continuous improvement. I mean, the first book, the second edition, I try to learn from my mistakes from the first edition and try to improve in this. So yeah, you can buy it from anywhere. You can buy it from Amazon. You can buy it from Flipkart. You can buy it from the Notion Press. You can buy from Barnes and Noble, or you can buy from Cobe. So it's on almost all the major publishing platforms globally.
All right.
And I'm trying to set up something in
Thank
Pune.
you.
I have
Yes.
also the website. Sorry, I didn't share the most important thing. So I have made a website on the book where I'll keep sharing more and more details. Right now, it's one page and videos. It's www global
Oh,
development impact
yes, we can check. We can,
dot com.
yeah, in the
So
chat
this is
box.
this
It will
yeah,
appear.
this site is very important. This is the site should have been on the book or in the presentation. So this is the most important site which you need to look. And I'll try to see if I can get some also data points where you can freely download it. So you have to, this book I feel is a must for anybody. Of course, if you want to make a career in the development sector, or you're in a corporate, or you're in CSR, or you're in global philanthropy, this becomes an absolute must for you that you should be having it in hand. But this could be, for example, somebody called me that he has gifted this book to his daughter. She was actually going in undergrad degree. She was pursuing an undergrad degree. So this could be an excellent gift for people whom you love. But of course, like I said, comes out as a narrative, but it's a deep dive. Like Jeet already said, this could be an excellent book, but then it's a heavy read. And there are certain chapters you have to sit back. And even when I reread it or what I wrote, I need to myself sit back and go slow on a couple of chapters.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Malhotra, I think wonderful. It was good read also, and nice to hear from you. I would like to thank you for covering this topic. It was a very different topic for us to introduce ourselves and
Hello.
really
Hello.
enjoyed this
Yeah.
session, and I hope I'm clearly audible. Yes. So, and we would, on behalf of entire BDB Book Club, we would like to thank you for taking us through this a, a very unique, different topic for us too. So, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and we look forward to hearing some more in-depth related topics in extension to this book. Also, we understand this was your first, and there are many more that you can certainly come up with. So we would like to also for the members, I would like to thank everyone for your patience and presence, and also some interesting questions that came through. We really welcome those. Wish we could have few more. Thank you so much for your presence. We would like to make a small announcement for our upcoming session, like we always do. What we have in session for our that is the first session of the next year, which is again on a very interesting topic. This is something which is growing your inner wealth. So this is covers talk about the mental strength, meaning and having a meaningful and fulfilling life. And this is actually comes from an author who has achieved a lot in his career. Mr. Vikas Bhatia would be joining us online on 31st of January. Please mark your date. We would also be sending you the invite in second week of January, the same time, 11 to 12:30. A very interesting book to connect. So with this, we would like to uh, conclude our today's session, and we wish you a very happy weekend. And also, as we enter a new year, this is something which will be an interesting read. So we wish everybody a very happy new year, and also very Merry Christmas coming up. It's a festive time, so do enjoy, please. So
Yeah.
with this, we would conclude our today's session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Malhotra. And so
Thanks a
this.
lot. I
Thank you.
really appreciate.
Yeah.
Wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. It's a fantastic festival. It's sort of widely celebrated. It's one of the most important days. So Merry Christmas and have a wonderful New Year. I would really love to hear from you. Anything about the book, you let me know. I'm based in Pune right now. As of now, there's a website. Anything you need, do contact me. I'll just share my number here so that we end with this. This is you can reach me on here and on email, or there are a couple of emails you can also write to me. I really love to know, and maybe how I can of course be a guest at various go to universities and talk of stuff. We can have another session like he said, like Jeet said, and we're more than happy to uh, you know mm, take a more in-depth session if you want. And these are my email